Alright, so I'm scraping with my new tungsten carbide scraper, and that seems to be doing a really good job. One of the things, if you're not going to be putting up a new barrier coat, then I would not use this method, because this does get into the gel coat pretty good. But I'm doing a whole new barrier coat, so I'm not worried, especially considering I did all this work. I need a new barrier coat anyway. One of the interesting things doing this scraping using this tungsten carbide, it's like an archaeology dig. The previous owner told me that he had sanded off all of the bottom coat and started with fresh VC17 at one point, and I can see many areas where he had gone through the gel coat. So I did not do this using my scraper just now. This was there already. I've been running across it all over the place. That, and it's also interesting, not that there's an issue with any of this, but you can see the swirl marks from his sander back in the day. So this is kind of like a archaeological expedition here. All right, I'm gonna show the progress here before I paint the bottom. Done a lot off camera. A lot of fairing. Took off the there's a little piece of metal that goes along in here and filled in some holes underneath it. I put up some unthickened epoxy all along this seam. Where the two halves of the boat come together, there's this area here that's the filler that seems to dry out, so I put all the way down the whole boat. Has some kind of covering on it now, unthickened epoxy, most of it, but some of it has. I put fiberglass up underneath that whole area there to strengthen it. Back when I thought the hull was coming apart, I don't really think it was. I think it was just that material in between the two halves that was drying out because it's been out of the water so long. Anyway, lots of fairing going on. It's really dusty right now. I sanded last night, but I haven't hosed it off or anything, so it doesn't look that great. But all my through hulls are patched. There's 4 of them, one there, and there are actually 2 in there. Anyway, she's gonna be painted soon. Putting on, if all goes well, 4 coats of the Interlux InterProtect 2000E, and then I'm going to go with their Micron CSC, I think it is. So today I'm going to try the Interlux InterProtect 2000E barrier coat on my Alberg 30. Got everything I supposedly need. There's the 2-part right there. The gloves, I got some de-waxer first, then acetone thinner that I don't think I'm going to need. Tunes, measuring pot. I'm not going to use an entire gallon right up front. I'm going to use a little over half probably. Supposedly it's about exactly 1 gallon to do this boat, but just in case it goes on thinner, then I think I'm going to not waste it. Obviously the rollers, all that, coffee, we're good to go. And a couple things I forgot to mention. I got these special rollers. I got these at West Marine. They do say solvent resistant phenolic core. That's important. I know when I did the top sides, I had a couple of rollers, or I had some supposedly quality rollers from Home Depot that said they were good for oil-based paints. I thought, oh, that's good enough, and it wasn't. They were falling apart. I had to switch over. I happened to have some West System rollers, so I finished the job with that, so that was good. Then the other thing I wanted to mention, when I built the cradle for this boat, on purpose, because it was going on the trailer. I have 2 at each corner, and then I also have, you know, this V and that V, and that was for transport more than just storage. So I'm gonna be able to lower the 2 inners on this, do the entire boat, and then at another point I can bring these 2 back up and those up and lower the outers and get the rest of it. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to address underneath here in these 3 spots, because I did have some holes in there's a sandwiched core or sandwiched hull. There's 2 sides put together, and there's a seam, and the material they put into that seam is like a putty, and that putty has over time deteriorated. So because it's been out of the water for 5 years, so it just dried up and deteriorated. So I've patched up all of that and filled it in with epoxy, except for those 3 areas. So I'm thinking I might be putting in wood in here, getting underneath the trailer and supporting it, because I don't know that I trust these things to take the weight of the boat. But getting all that in there as best I can, shimming it up real good, and then just chipping those pieces of wood out and working on them in place here. But that's that'll be a whole nother project. So anyway, I'm gonna get going here. I gotta do a little bit of fairing. Move it. Alright, first coat is on. Looks good, went on nice. Not bad stuff to work with, I like it. Nice. Now I put the first coat on gray. Gotta do 4 coats total. First coat is gray, and then they have white, so I'm just alternating gray, white, gray, white. So it's they recommend that because it's easier to see where you've been, what's covered, versus, you know, painting over the same color and trying to see where you are and where the wet line is. So mixed up what much I need. I did not need a full gallon. I had mixed up actually a half a gallon, I think. What do I got? It was 4 pints, and then I had to mix up another pint on top of that to make it all the way around. Good thing is I have some left of the gray, and I'll have some left of the white to do the you know, the little spots that I can't get at the moment because of the cradle. Alright, 2 coats, almost. Didn't quite mix up enough. I mixed up what I used on the gray coat for the white coat, but the white didn't seem to cover as easily, or as obviously, I suppose I should say. So I got that much left. I'm not going to worry about doing it right now. I'm doing 2 coats today, and then later on when I get to do the bottom coat, I'm going to do 2 more coats of this. And then within it's like something like 9 hours, you're supposed to apply the other anti-fouling paint. So I'm going to wait. Maybe next weekend I'll do 2 more coats of this, and then the anti-fouling paint. But what I'm going to do for this right here, at some point during this week, I'll come out a couple times, and I'll get underneath the stands, and then I'll finish this coat. So I'll try to get all 4 coats underneath the stands here, and that way when I go back, I'll just need to do the anti-foul. Alright, it's the next weekend, and I got 2 coats of the barrier coat on, and it has revealed just how poor a job of fairing I've done so far. And this is the top of that part that comes underneath all the way down. I can still see, I don't know if it's showing on here, but in person it's not looking that great. So this one came out pretty good, actually. And this one's got a little bit, well, you can see it's the reflection that really shows a little bit there. So what I've done is I've ordered some sanding blocks, the longer fairing blocks, and some sandpaper to put on those. So I'm going to put on some more fairing compound right now, build it up over these areas, and then I never did use a longboard kind of thing for fairing, and I should have. So I ordered that. That'll be here tomorrow, and so I got to put on some more fairing compound today, and then find some other projects. I was really hoping to get this whole thing done this weekend. I got a long weekend with Juneteenth, but it's not looking like it's going to happen. So I'll move on to other projects, but time to fair. So this is my setup for the fairing. I usually do my batches in 6 pumps of the big. I got a large resin container in the basement. I set up a bunch of these. I got more in the cooler here. So I usually do about 6 pumps each. Throw the hardener in, mix it up, and apply it. That's the way I do that. And then using the low density fairing compound here, I have the 406 for when I want to do thickened epoxy. So that's the system I'm using. All right, we got the fairing done. See how we did? I went through, there's all kinds of these tiny little pinholes that I filled. I went all the way around. Don't know what those are from. Probably, I mean, I don't know what those are from. I think they must have been bubbles in the first barrier coat paint, because it wasn't an area that I had faired before, so it wasn't like bubble in my previous fairing. It's all over the boat, so I think I gotta be careful when I'm mixing my paint up. It's getting a little aerated and getting some bubbles in it. But so that's where all these little ones are, and then this is along the main where I wrapped fiberglass around the bottom to reinforce that, and then that's 1 through hull. There's 2 through hulls there, and then this one here. There was one right here. Did a pretty good job on that one before, but there's just a little bit there. So I bought this. It's called Dura Block. You can put sandpaper on it. Got a couple different sizes here. You gotta be careful when you buy this stuff. There's a hook and loop style, and then there's another style that I don't recognize, PCV or something like that. It's on how the sandpaper attaches. I had bought hook and loop sandpaper, so I had to, this surface here is something that I put on. I super glued it on so it'll take the hook and loop sandpaper. I bought the wrong kind, so, but here we go. So I'm gonna see how this does, helping me fair what I got left. Here we go. Alright, the sanding block is working really well. I have to admit, I'm doing it in conjunction with my random orbital, taking the random orbital, getting it close to where I think I need to be, and then bring this puppy in through, and boy, it makes it nice. So yeah, it's a combo. I tried just using this, and that would have taken me all day or several days, because I don't know that I could do it in one shot. My back and shoulders would complain long before I'd get it done, but I think it's a good mix. Get the bulk of the heavy stuff off. I'm not a great fairer as far as applying the compound. I put probably too much on. Somebody that has a better steady hand can probably get a nice thin layer on close to where it needs to be, and then just finish off with this. But I got more than I need, but that also helps me fill in everything in one shot. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out here. So still got a long way to go. I got to run to Home Depot and get some more. I'm out of sanding discs. All right, sanded. Oh, that's a pain. block worked well. I'm pretty happy with this. If I were a perfectionist, I might do a little tiny bit here and there, but this is really, I think, under a couple coats, and as time progresses, under many coats of antifouling, you're not going to see anything. So now I'm going to hose it off, wait for that to dry, do an acetone wipe, and do the third coat of barrier. So this is my setup. Just back up here. So I just open it up and tie it off when I'm working on it, and then it just closes back up when I'm done. And I got a good little workstation. There's extra in the back here, so I got a area in the shade here. There's my workstation. So InterProtect 2000E. This is the gray. I'm going to do a coat of gray, and then this size boat, actually the first coat of gray and then the second coat of white that I had, enough left over to combine those two, and I'll be able to get a coat out of that. So four gallons, but 5 coats. So I'm doing gray right now, and then I'm mixing the two, so it'll be a lighter gray, so I'll be able to see the difference, and then the last coat will be white. And then I'm going to be putting on the anti-fouling is going to be the Interlux Micron CSC. It's going to be blue. So I'm doing white as the last coat, the barrier coat, so I can tell when the anti-foul is all the way down to the barrier coat. If it's worn away, that'll be a good indication. I'll be able to see the white. So that's why I went with white for the final coat. So I'm just waiting for this to kind of, it says to wait 20 minutes to let the I think it's just to let the air bubbles settle out before you start painting. I'm going to split it up into 2 batches to make sure, try to make each batch last for one side of the boat. And that's it. Here we go. Can't wait to cover up this all of this fairing. It's a good feeling when that all gets covered up and it looks really, really nice. Alright, so I had enough to put 1 full coat of the Micron on, and then I did about 18 inches down from the waterline. I had enough to go all the way around, and then I also did all along the bottom. I have some set aside for under here and some set aside for underneath the keel. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to get another gallon, and I'm going to get it black. I'm not real pleased with this blue. I thought it would be darker. They do have a dark blue, but I think I'm just going to go with the black, and that'll be another, it'll be a telltale sign that the black has worn out when I start seeing the blue, and if I start seeing white, I know all of it's worn out. I also am going to wait to put on the black layer. I didn't realize that for some anti-foul paints you're not supposed to put this on unless you're going to splash fairly soon, because if it sits for a year, or this is going to be possibly a year, then you got to scrub it to reactivate because of some oxidation or something like that. The Micron CSC and some of the stuff I've read says that that's not the case for that. That it's fine to go season to season, but just in case, I'm gonna wait to do the last coat. I'll do a little more research. Maybe I should scrub this, what's on here, wipe it down, and then paint the last coat before splashing. So that's the plan there. So that's it for the Interlux 2000E barrier coat and the Micron CSC anti-fouling paint for now. So I'm gonna cut this video off here. If you want to subscribe, you can. There's a blue circle up above with the logo. I think that's a link to the subscription to my page. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. I had to share a satisfying experience. Now these marks here are where I had marked the original waterline. Or actually, that is actually a ½ an inch above the original boot stripe. And I raised the waterline 3 inches to get to the top of the original boot stripe. That was there just to help me place this tape. So that's what that is. That'll come off. Oh, nice and crisp.